So I have the privilege and honor today of getting to introduce one of our dietitians here at the hospital. Her name is Alicia Teague, and I do want to say we were supposed to have had Samara Wright as our guest, and her son, she got a call right as she was coming in here this morning that her son was sick at school and she had to leave and go pick him up. And so Alicia was so gracious to come down and fill in for Samara. They all do a wonderful job upstairs teaching patients at the bedside about diabetes and some things that we need to know. And some of you in the room may be saying, I'm not diabetic, so I really don't know why I'm here. And some may be saying, I'm diabetic, what could I learn now? I think diabetes is a subject that can really stretch for anyone to know about. For one, if you don't already have diabetes, there's so much that you can do to prevent from getting type 2 diabetes. And that's exciting to me to know that it's something that you can prevent. For those of you who already have diabetes, there's still things that you need to know. We have some wonderful educational classes that Alicia's going to touch on. We have some resources. We have so much teaching material. And so our Diabetes Aware program that we're going to talk about in a little bit after Alicia speaks will answer a lot of questions that people may have had and have never known about diabetes. Alicia went to the University of Tennessee at Martin, and she has a BS in Human Environmental Science with a concentration on dietetics. She did an internship at Murray State University, and she has been a dietitian here for 10 years. So I just want to say about Alicia, she's always got the best smile, and she's so sweet. And anything I've ever asked Alicia to do, she's always been so very willing to help me when it comes to patient care. So I really would like for y'all to give a warm round of applause for Miss Alicia Teague.
Okay. And I did pay Melissa about, well, how much did I pay you to say that? Melissa is correct about exercise. Exercise is very, very important. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit because I do like to exercise. I've always exercised. Even in high school, I played sports. And then when I got to college, I ran a little track. And then after that, continued on after that. So exercise is very, very important. But I want to talk about something called pre-diabetes. Have y'all heard about pre-diabetes? Okay. It's not exactly diabetes yet, but it's kind of like on the path to diabetes or on the track to diabetes. And a lot of people really don't know what their blood sugars are until they actually get tested. And pre-diabetes means you're at increased risk to get diabetes. One of the alarming facts is that 35% of U.S. adults have prediabetes, which means that comes out to be about 79 million U.S. adults that have prediabetes. And that could be even more because some people have not gone to the doctor and don't really know if they have prediabetes or full-blown diabetic. So that number could be more than 79 million adults. Also, studies show that healthy lifestyle change can also be helpful. Eating right, okay, exercise, not getting so much sugar in your diet. When you look on the back of a label, everybody knows to look at sugar, right? Okay, but what about total carbohydrate? Okay, total carbohydrate basically is the total amount of sugar you should be looking for on the back of a label because the number beside the word total carbohydrate, that is the total amount of sugar that's in that product. So when you see something that has total carbohydrates on the back, which is just about everything on the food label, that's the number you really should pay attention to as far as how much sugar is in that product per serving. Another thing about type 2 diabetes, also with healthy lifestyle, it can reduce your chances of developing type 2 diabetes by 29 to 67%. So just think about having a healthy lifestyle, eating right, can reduce your chances of having type 2 diabetes. Also, added sugars can lead to weight gain as well as obesity, and that's just with anything, especially with the heart. A lot of added fat also can lead to weight gain and as far as heart disease as well. So the best thing we want you to do, of course, as dietitians, we always say have it baked, broiled, or grilled instead of fried. That's our motto. But it really is a better choice for you to have it baked instead of fried. It's okay to fry every once in a while. We just don't want you to do it every day. That's the biggest thing. Because once we get into a habit of something we do every day, and what happens over a 5, 10, 20-year period, next thing you know, you've got diabetes, you've got some type of heart disease, so it's best to start right now, okay, or in the earlier part of your years, and that way it becomes a normal habit to you. Some healthy steps I was going to talk to you about to help better your health and decrease your risk of diabetes is one thing is switch beverage choices, okay. How many people drink a lot of Coca-Colas or soft drinks? You don't have to confess now. Switching to a non-calorie beverage is so much more better, okay, than having a regular Coca-Cola, a regular Pepsi, Mountain Dew, or Mellow Yellow, because those kind of drinks have a lot of sugar. Okay, a lot of sugar does add to weight gain. Weight gain leads to being overweight. Next thing that leads to obesity. And then next thing that leads to diabetes, heart disease, along with other disease complications. It's amazing to know how much weight can affect different disease states. So it's so important to try not to drink those so much heavy caloric beverages. Water, of course, is always the best choice, okay? And if you don't like water, because a lot of people just don't like water, they have a little taste in it. And that's okay, too, because, you know, we've got the non-calorie as far as the Crystal Light packages or the off-brand packages that you can have. Anything to flavor your water, because those don't have any sugar in them. They're non-caloric, so you can do that. So if you like a little taste in your water. But switching to, say, a diet soft drink, a diet Sprite, Sprite Zero, or non-caloric beverage would be a better choice. Not to say that we want you to, fill up on non-caloric beverages, because having a six-pack of Diet Pepsi a day isn't the best choice to have, but maybe one or two is okay. You want to take note on the food label, like I said before, with the sugar content, along with the fat content, also on the back. But with diabetes, we're so concentrated on the sugar content, is to remember just to look at that number beside the word total carbohydrate. And you want to try to eat healthier carbs, okay? And carbohydrates are starches, there are breads, there are fruits or vegetables. So we prefer you to get the best carbohydrates, which are your whole grains and your fruits and your vegetables, as opposed to something like potato chips or like the carbonated beverages, getting your carbs from that way. So we prefer you to have your fruits and your vegetables as a better choice as opposed to potato chips. The biggest thing as dietitians we always stress on is portion control. Okay, my motto is you can have anything you want, but you got to watch out how much of it. Okay, you always got to watch your portions. Small portions. We stress 3 ounces of meat. Okay, that's the palm of your hand, or think of it as a deck of cards. Then those half a cup portions with your vegetables. So you always got to monitor how much you have at one time, because that's the biggest thing. Because you can be eating the right things also, but have a bigger portion on them. Okay, and that also, the bigger it is, the more you eat, and the more weight gain. So you always want to watch your portions. The last thing is start moving. You're never too old to exercise. You're never too young to start exercising. My grandmother is 81 years old, okay, and she persistently walks up and down from her house to this Red Barn that I've been knowing since I was little every single day. Exercise is always important. You got to keep moving. 30 minutes a day is what the American Heart Association recommends. Okay, 30 minutes a day, whether you're in the garden working or you're in the gym or you're swimming, it doesn't really matter. They just want you to walk, okay, and get moving, get that heart pumping, because exercise is very important for your heart and as well for your diabetes. It helps you keep your weight under control. So exercise is one of the major components along with healthy eating. The last thing I do want to mention is, Melissa did say about our classes. Me and Kathy Warfork, along with the pharmacist, we do tag team and have diabetes classes on Mondays and Tuesdays. We usually have them twice a month, and those classes are all day. They're 8 till 4:30. We also have classes on Thursday night. I think the time is 7 until 8:30. So that's every Thursday night, and that's Monday and Tuesday twice a month. We don't have it this week, so our next class will start back next Monday and Tuesday. And those classes are from 8 to 4:30. And they are very, very helpful. I'm not saying it because I teach part of the session, but they are. The pharmacist there, if you want to know about your medicine, if you want to know what interacts with what type of medicine and about your diabetes medicine and how long you should be taking it. Also, I teach the part on carbohydrate counting, reading food labels, talking about portion control. And Kathy does her part on the nursing side about always make sure you wear your socks and your shoes. You know, it takes diabetes a little longer time to heal. So she does the nursing part and what your blood sugar number should be. So it's a really, really, really good informative class to come to if you can and take a day off work, or if you can do that. It's on Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 4:30. And then we also have a class here at the hospital at J. Walter Barnes, which is around the corner in one of those rooms A, B, or C. And that is from 7 to 8:30. So it's very informative. So please come out. If you think you have diabetes, all you need is a physician's referral. It's free of charge. And so it's a very good class for anyone to attend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Didn't she do great to fill in at the very last minute? Oh, my goodness. And I think we have a question for you, Miss Alicia. Hang on one second. We had somebody raising their hand. Yes, sir.
She mentioned diet drink, and I don't know, diet drink, you get 43 grams of sugar, and all of them I come up with that.
Yes.
On the diet soft drinks, they should have 0 grams of carbohydrates. Only the regular soft drinks have the total carbs or sugar in them. But anything Diet, Sprite Zero, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi should have 0 grams of carbs. Okay.
Have a program for people that work here. I know I don't smoke. No smoking program.
Mm-hmm.
You have a program for people working in the hospital for obesity.
We have outpatient services now, because you can contact our dietary department, and the number is 541. Oh, anybody, employees and outpatients. Anybody can call for a consult in our nutrition department. And you can get a one-on-one education with a dietitian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sodium in your non-caloric drinks will be lower than they are with the caloric drinks, but they still have a good amount of sodium in it. When you look on the back of a label, you always want to look for something less than 140 milligrams of sodium, which is going to be kind of difficult to find, because once you know everything packaged or canned is processed, of course, and that's what holds it on the shelf a little longer is salt. But if you're really watching your salt intake, try to look for something less than 140 milligrams of sodium. That means it's going to be low in salt. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Alicia? All right.
Okay, thank you.
One lady right
Okay,
here.
yes.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, it's held in a nurse education building on Rowland Avenue. And our next class is next week, Monday and Tuesday. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. That's correct. And unfortunately, sometimes we inherit bad genes, which is nothing we can do about. Because everybody, how much I exercise, because I exercise 4 to 5 days out of the week, but my cholesterol, I still have to keep a tab on it because it continues to be a little bit over 200. So, but high cholesterol does run in my family. So having bad genes, unfortunately, is nothing we can do about. But exercise does help prevent it getting even higher than what you really want it to be. Yes, sir.
Have you got time to tell us how come
That I don't know. I'm not diabetic, and I've always have cold feet and cold hands. But but I'm anemic too, so that may have something to do with it as well. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Right. When someone has, say, for instance, like an ulcer or some sort of like that, sometimes with diabetes, you can't really feel it. Okay. When you have that tingling in your toes, that's at the beginning stages because you know something is wrong because you know your toes or feet shouldn't be tingling. But when you get down to having an ulcer or some kind of spot on your toe, most of the time you don't even feel it because those nerves have been damaged already. And so when you're surprised, say when you take off your socks, say, you still a little bit of sore right here on your toe or your foot. With gout, you definitely feel it because it's a joint pain, of course. But sometimes with diabetes, no, you can't actually feel like a pressure sore. Unfortunately, because with diabetes, if your blood sugar stays over 200 constantly, it's hard for anything to heal. Yes, ma'am. A normal A1C, we want to be less than 6.5%. And it used to be less than 7, but with our obesity and overweight population, that's why they put a restrictor recommendations because instead of less than 7. So it's less than 6.5. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much, Alicia. At this point, I would like to add a little bit about our Diabetes Aware program. For those of you who've noticed the video cameras and Mr. Chad here filming with us, we are filming this program to answer your question, sir, about what are we doing about obese employees here at the hospital. Basically, our administration has seen fit to start a program called Healthy Heights. I've been privileged to be able to be a part in the building of that program, and many of the girls that sit in the back that are helping us today have all just experienced the last month of trying to implement such a big endeavor for such a huge place. We have over 5,500 employees. Sometimes out of 5,500 employees, sometimes our eyes are drawn to the ones who may be overweight. And you wonder, how is it that nurses or doctors could be overweight? Part of that problem has to do with the stressful job that people have. High stress does cause people not to be able to be as healthy as usual. The other thing is we as nurses and physicians and people who work here in this hospital are really more interested sometimes in taking care of others and not ourselves. And so sometimes that is to a fault, and so we do fall into the same ruts as others on making healthier eating choices and trying to exercise and get that time. When you work a 12-hour shift and you're on your feet all day upstairs in the nursing units and the CVICU that I used to work in, exercise isn't always an option on those days, and it's very hard for us in the Heart Aware program to try to give ideas on those folks on how they can fit it in, because sometimes it's just hard to do because they do work those 12-hour shifts and weekends and nights, and so it gets kind of hard. But Healthy Heights is a brand new program, and those of people who will be watching this video, and the reason we're videotaping it today is so that they can also get educated on things like diabetes, things that we can do to prevent it. Some really neat things about the program, it involves getting free blood work. It involves sitting down with a health coach, and our health coaches, which a lot of them are in the back of the room. We help set goals with each employee, and our administration is willing to pay us a bonus at the end of the year if we do meet those weight loss goals, those high blood pressure goals, and those cholesterol goals. So it's very exciting to be a part of such a program, and I have been witness to many people, including in this room at this very moment, who have had some weight loss and some exciting lifestyle changes. I would love to introduce Chef Josh, and just really quickly before I do, the girls have a portion control sheet at the back that they're going to hand out to each of you. I thought this was a good visual that will show you exactly what size things need to be when we're going to eat them. As far as your meats, a size of a deck of cards. As far as a slice of cake, brownie, or cookie, it should be the size of one Post-it note. How many of you can do that? That's hard, isn't it? As far as mayonnaise, and butter, they should be the size of a dice. You know, like a dice you use and the size of 3 dice for cheese. And the size of 1 fist for rice and pasta. How many of y'all go to a spaghetti store and can eat that much pasta? 2 fists for vegetables. So take your 2 fists, and that's what size your vegetables need to be. Half a baseball, or the size of a cupped hand, for your rice, pasta, fruits, and ice creams. A handful for nuts, popcorn, and trail mix. So whenever you finish the handful, don't reach in there again. 10 to 15 chips for 1 serving. I know with the Lay's, it says on the back you can't eat just one. Well, if you can keep it down to 10, you're doing pretty good too. And then the size of a dental floss box for chocolates. Now, at this time of the year, that's a little hard to do too, I know. But we need to try to follow these. And that's the problem in the South with all of us, is that we have too big a portion control. So if we can learn to abide by these rules of thumb, then we will see weight loss. And I have some more handouts up here, girls, if you were to need some. The last thing I want to go over is the Diabetes Aware Risk Assessment that you were all handed as you came in the door. For those of you watching online, you actually can find this online on our intranet or the employee website. You can click on Free Risk Assessment and click on Diabetes Aware. If you fill this out today and turn this in to us, basically, or if you fill it out online, basically what happens is you will be called if you're found to have 2 or more risk factors, and at that point you will receive a free cholesterol profile, which includes the good, the bad, and the ugly. I call it the good and the bad cholesterol, triglycerides, and a glucose level. And those are all things that we will teach you on at a free appointment, a visit with a registered nurse. We spend about an hour or sometimes a little longer as people have more questions or need us in our early detection center downstairs located in the cardiac rehab area. So that is something that I would highly encourage you to take advantage of today. It's absolutely free. The blood work is free. Everything about it's free, even including the educational time. So please take a moment to fill that out and give it to one of my wonderful employees at the back as you head over to try Chef Josh's amazing creations today. Now, who wants to hear about Chef Josh and who our guest cook is today? We're going to welcome him, but Josh Jajitsky. Did I say that right?
You did.
And it is not spelled at all like it sounds.
Not even close.
He's been the executive chef at Jackson Madison County General Hospital for 3.5 years. He did his culinary training at the Pennsylvania Culinary Institute in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He went to work shortly after at the club at Key Center, which is a private club for Cleveland, Ohio's elite businessmen and women, politicians, judges, and lawyers. After the club, he went to work for several other restaurants, honing in on his skills. He has been in the culinary industry for 19 years, from fine dining to pizza and wings places. He was lucky enough to become an executive chef and manager with Sodexo 5 years ago. In that 5 years, he worked in 3 states, to include Ohio, Louisiana, and Tennessee. He is currently a leader and member of Sodexo's Pie Chapter. It's a group of very talented chefs that get together and review new products, cooking techniques, and make each other better chefs. He's been married for 7 years, and his wife and he has a 2-year-old son. Please welcome Chef Josh.
Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day. I won't see y'all tomorrow, but you can come up and visit if you want. All right, so today's recipe, it's going to be called Southwest Chicken, okay? It's going to have some good stuff in it, some good healthy vegetables. Going to have some heat to it with some good spicy peppers. Heat's a good thing, I think. Tastes good. So what I'm going to do is I'll run through the whole recipe, show you kind of how I did it, and then when you guys break in the break room over here, we've actually done this morning a sampling of the same recipe for everybody to try. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'll start by warming up my pan, and this is an induction burner. It's basically very high tech. It works off of magnets and all kinds of fun things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this recipe, and I'm going to start by heating up my oil. And this is just standard vegetable oil. And I didn't use a lot, just enough to put a little coat on the bottom of the pan. The term sautéing basically is defined by a very little fat with very high heat. That way you get a nice sear on everything that you... Get that cord out of the way. We don't want to cook any cords today. So while that's heating up, I'm going to first sharpen my knife a little bit. And basically, this is just it's called a steel. It doesn't really sharpen your knife. What it does is it takes your edge of your knife, and if you were to look at it from on a microscope, the edge of your knife would look like that. And as you run your knife across that steel, it basically takes those edges back to that. So you have a nice straight edge to cut all of your items with. And I'll start with my red pepper first, because the onions make me cry. It'll be a more dramatic finish for the end. So what I'll do is, and the way I like to do my peppers is I like to start, and I cut the edge. And what that does is it gives me a guide and a flat surface for the rest of the cut, okay? And I take that and I cut again, and I turn it to the flat side and cut again, and turn it to the flat side and cut again. And you're left with basically just a cage of the seeds, which is really nothing you want to eat anyway. And if you'd like, you can always trim that little bottom piece off if you're trying to save a penny. Okay? And then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these, and we're basically going to cut them into squares. We're just going to dice them up. Nothing real fancy, nothing crazy, just a normal dice. And, depending on how you like your vegetables, they can be a little bigger, a little smaller. Basically leave it up to you. Okay? And then we just need a few. We don't need the whole pepper here. This table's a little low. The kitchen counter at home is a whole lot higher than that. As you can see, the oil is starting to smoke, which is a good sign. You want hot oil when you're starting to cook. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start my chicken. When you cook anything, you want to start with the items that are going to take the longest first. And you'll start to smell the chickeny goodness here. And if your oil is too hot, don't be afraid to pull it off and let it cool down for a second, just to kind of calm it back down. Okay, and we're just going to let that chicken sit there for a second. And while it's cooking, what I like to do is I always like to season my food a little bit at a time. You kind of build your flavors that way, and the more time the seasoning is on your food, the more flavor you're going to develop from that. And all I put on there to start with was just a little salt and a little black pepper. We'll stir those around. Okay. So we've got our red pepper. Okay. Now the onion, my friend. I don't know. I think I might be ultra sensitive to onions or something. If I start crying, it's not because I'm sad for being here. I love being here doing stuff like this. That was a joke. You don't have to laugh. It's all right. All right. So all I did is I took the top off and the bottom off of the onion, cut it right in half. Okay. We're not going to need both. Okay. Now, when I trim my onions, all these layers, the skin of the onion. That's just basically the first 3 layers. I like to take another one off of that because usually about the 4th one down is still a little like a papery. You know what I mean? It's got that papery kind of texture to it, and that's not good for anybody. It just doesn't taste good. It doesn't eat well. Kind of watching your chicken here as it cooks. Okay. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to julienne the onions, and the julienne is just going to be strips. Basically, all it is a fancy name for strips, okay? And the way I do it is I just basically take the onion and I cut it straight down the side, all the way across, real simple, real easy. It doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of folks go out to fancy restaurants and they pay a lot of good money for perfect looking food, and I've been there, I've done that. Food that's cut a little bit oblong tastes just as good as the stuff that's cut perfectly to me. So our chickens is cooked, I would say about halfway, which is good, because we're going to need to add our vegetables to them, okay? And basically you just take those and scoop them in there. This is where I get fancy. I got fancy all over the floor. That's all right. All right. So we've got our onions, our peppers, our chicken. Okay, that's going to be our base. Now what we're going to start to do is we're going to kind of build flavors, and we're going to basically build a sauce to go along with it. So we start with our oil, a little salt and pepper. Okay, this is going to be a little ground oregano. Ground oregano is it may smell like pencil shavings, but it adds a lot of flavor. And I just add a couple little dashes to it because it is kind of strong, especially in the dry form. This is going to be just some regular chili powder, just light chili powder, nothing, not spicy. The heat will come from the peppers that I'm going to add here in just a second. Okay. We'll just toss that up real quick. Okay, we're going to let that sit. We'll turn the heat up a little bit. Let all those flavors kind of come together. What I have here, these are just canned diced tomatoes with just a little fresh garlic minced in with them. We're just going to add those with that. And I broke it down into two little containers here. And all that will start to come together. And what your end result really, has anybody ever had chicken cacciatore? Which is basically marinara sauce with onions and peppers and chicken cut up in it. This is kind of going to be the same item, but with a Southwest kind of flavor with your peppers. All right. And this is the hot item. These are chipotle peppers in the adobo sauce, and chipotle peppers are nothing more than smoked jalapenos. Okay, so they are going to be a little bit hot, but not so hot to where you're going to say, "Oh, it's so hot, it's killing me." So basically, all I'm going to do is I'll stir all that in together. I don't know. Can you guys smell any of this? Does it smell good? It smells wonderful back here. And we're just going to kind of let that cook for just a second. Okay, I'm going to remove my gloves. Put all this together. I tell my cooks in the kitchen to clean as you go, and I guess I should follow my own lead. Set a bad example if I don't. All right, so we'll set this stuff off to the side. Clean up this table. This is what they don't show you on Food Network. Is during commercial breaks they have a staff of about 50 people come out and clean up after the messy chefs that are on TV. All right. So we're back from commercial break. All right. I mean, from right here, this is divine. I don't know. That's a silly word to use, I guess. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chicken and I'm going to lay it in this bowl. I'm going to take all these vegetables and all this good tomato and put it on top. And voila. That's that. What I have here is kind of a different variation of what your sauce could look like. If you were to take your chicken and cook it separately and take all your vegetables and cook them separately, and that's perfectly acceptable, however you want to do it. But what I've did here is with this vegetable mix, I've actually taken it, separated it from the chicken, and put it into a blender, and basically blended all that together to get basically a sauce. And you can certainly top your chicken that way. If you don't like your vegetables big and chunky, or you like things a little bit finer as you eat them. But that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it. Any questions from anybody on anything having to do with food? Yes, ma'am.
I've got a problem.
Uh-oh.
Um,
It's like $40 an hour, but I can be there. Whatever you
I
need.
am a diabetic, but I'm also on Coumadin. I cannot have any green vegetables.
Uh-huh.
If I eat green beans, anything green or green fruit and things, it messes up my PT. So how can I eat without eating anything green?
I can answer that as a nurse. I don't know if you may have a.
I was looking for Alicia.
Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's how we teach our Coumadin patients in cardiac rehab. You can eat green vegetables, but you always need to eat the same amount every day.
Well, I tried that, and it messes up my PT.
Does it? Normally, we teach our patients that as long as you have, a half a cup of serving every day, you would be good. So one day you could have green beans. The next day, you could have a green salad, green peas, those type of things. Do you have any words of wisdom for us?
Yeah. It's mainly the dark green leafy vegetables, but green peas do have a small amount of vitamin K, but green beans doesn't. It's the lowest amount. It's one of the lowest on the list. So green beans would actually be an okay item for you to have than any of the other greens that you just mentioned.
Well, I tried that, and they asked me, have you been eating anything green? And I said, yeah, just a little bowl of green beans. No, because it messes up my PT. I can't have green apples, kiwi, green grapes, because it messes up my PT.
Wow, okay. That is
That's me too. Yeah. So that's a little bit more. You might want to talk with a dietitian one-on-one and find out more answers or some other ideas.
And in that case, we could take like a recall, a food recall of what you had within the 24 hours and see if we can diagnose into more detail of what actually the limit of each vitamin K food that you've had.
Any other questions for Chef Josh? Did he not do a fabulous job? Let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, and it smells so good. I don't know who gets to eat that, but I was kind of thinking maybe.
I just need the bowl back.
Yes, ma'am. We have a
Did
question.
you start off with the chicken breast strips? Is that what you
Yeah, I just took a 4-ounce chicken breast and I cut it into strips. Just to cook a little faster. Yeah, but you could leave it whole and you could grill it. You could bake it in the oven. Really, however, don't look at the recipe more as a guide than as a way to go. I mean, if you see something in a recipe that you don't particularly like, leave it out. If you see something in a recipe that you like more of, add more. I know when I make coffee cake, I like double of the streusel. So I double it up. But yeah, I mean, just experiment is my biggest piece of advice. Try new things. Be adventurous. If you don't like it, it didn't hurt anything other than the few dollars you spent on it, and then you're just mad for a day. But I always tell the cooks in the kitchen, don't try it because somebody else said they didn't like it. Any other questions? Nothing?
If you make the roasted pepper soup that's served in the cafeteria.
My staff makes it. Thank you. I did make the turkey and black bean chili the other day, though. It was very good.
Add extra sauce to that, or is that just the tomatoes that make the sauce?
It was just the tomatoes, the canned tomatoes with. I left the juice in with them. Usually, when I use canned items, I wouldn't leave the liquid that it's in, but in this case, it's basically just tomato juice and water.
And is this recipe that you just made, is it in this book, The
I believe so, yeah.
Southwestern Chicken? So we do have, as a gift to you all from Tennessee Heart and Vascular and the MAC Club, we have a cookbook today that features this specific dish, the Southwestern Chicken, and also a dish that Samara Wright made over the weekend. It's, I believe she Strawberries in a Cloud is what it's called. And I believe that recipe is in here as well. And if it's not, we can get that in the newsletter. But those are both things that that Chef Josh and Samara did specific for you all, thinking about low sugar and things like that in mind for the Don't Sugarcoat Diabetes. Any other questions for Chef Josh?
I like to say I really like your hand.
Thank you. It's not one of my favorites, but
I was in the service and we had little small
oh yeah, yeah,
throwaways.
yeah. This is just paper.
It makes him look very official, doesn't it?
Does it? Maybe I'll walk through the halls with it.
Yeah, I think you should try that. What, another hand I saw. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you didn't cook your chicken very long, something like about 2 minutes?
Yeah. For me, chicken. A lot of people overcook it due to fear of getting salmonella, which is completely understandable. Cooking temperature for chicken is anything over 165 degrees. Don't count, like when you're, and I say chicken, I mean all poultry, including your turkeys. Like for Thanksgiving time, don't count on your juices running clear because your bird may still be raw in the middle. You always want to check with a really good thermometer to make sure it's above that 165 degrees.
I know Chef Josh and Alicia will both be proud of us as Regina and I decided on what we could give away as another giveaway for y'all all coming today. We thought of a measuring cup and how appropriate that would be because you need to, watch your portions. So it has the MAC and the Tennessee Heart and Vascular Center logo on it. So y'all will all receive one of these as you leave today. If there aren't any other questions for Chef Josh or Alicia or Regina, I guess we will let you go next door and sample the Southwestern dish, also the Angels in a Cloud by Samara, and then some other healthy items. And on your way out, as you leave, so you don't have to worry about holding these things while you're trying to eat and all, we'll have these set up on the table where you can get them on your way out. So be sure and turn in the paper risk assessments to one of the ladies at the door, and they will take that up. You will receive a call if you were found to be at risk, and you'll receive a report in the mail as well. Let's thank Chef Josh and Alicia one more time.
Thank you.